Today, we continue the patch FAQs with patch compliance reporting that will make your boss smile. We hope. Well, welcome back to Tanium Tech Talks. I'm your host, Ashley McGlone, and today is part of that series we just started on patch frequently asked questions, FAQs. And we're covering some of the most popular questions that our patch SMEs get asked on a regular basis. So, as we all know, patching is about more than just applying the patches, and there's a lot that goes into that sometimes. But the people we report to want reports on what was patched. And here to share his reporting secrets is Jason Wasser. You may remember him from the Top Tech Talk episode of 2023 when he talked about zero touch patching. Well, welcome back to the show, Jason.
Glad to be back.
Yeah, for those who haven't met you yet, why don't you give us a quick intro?
My name is Jason Wasser. I'm a technical account manager with Tanium. Been here about 6 years. And my background is in operations. So I used to be a server engineer, desktop engineer. I did Active Directory, group policy, SCCM management, and a whole lot of PowerShell. And at Tanium, I'm a subject matter expert in our operations products, such as patch, deploy, and provision. And I help customers be successful with those products. And one of the ways we do that is patching, of course, but also making sure that they can show their work.
Show your work. Boy, that takes us back. Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing this topic's more complicated than it sounds. I'm just imagining, this is part of that classic struggle that Tanium helps people solve, right? The patch team has their tool, the compliance scanning tool has their tool, but when you can put that all in the same tool, it does make things easier and faster. So maybe Tanium does take some of the work out of this compliance patch reporting. I'm really interested to hear where you're going to take us today.
We did talk previously about that zero-touch patch automation, and we talked about reliable and verifiable patching. And that second part is so key, right? We do want a tool that can do all the things, but we want to also show that we've done it, right? And prove that we've done it. For us as operators, for our management, upper management, they want certainty. They want to know, have confidence that we've installed all the patches that we told the system to install. And patch compliance reporting is built in to Tanium. In fact, we can actually start with just looking at some charts that are built in, but sometimes you want to customize that to meet your organizational goals and SLAs. And let's face it, a pretty chart is what makes upper management just so happy. So, what we wanted you to be able to do is not only be successful with the tool, but show that success to your teams and to the business.
As long as I've been at Tanium, that chart never gets old. Just watching that patch trend line when it drops when the patch is hit. It bumps up on Patch Tuesday and then it drops after patching. And especially with new customers when they come on, they've got a crazy amount of patches that have been applied, and then you see that big cliff where it just dropped. That never gets old. Seeing that, so
Yeah.
I'm really curious to see where you're going to take us. Obviously, Tanium reporting is kind of newer for a lot of folks over this last year. It's really taken off and enabled so much in the visualizations. So yeah, show us what you got.
First thing I want to do is say that everything that we're going to walk through today is going to be. We already have an article on the Tanium Resource Center. So what you can do is just go to help.tanium.com, which is where I am right now, and then search for patch compliance. And then you'll see an article called Patch Compliance Reporting and Dashboards. So you can do that too, and you can follow along at home. But this article, we're just going to walk through what this article tells us to do to set up your own custom patch compliance reporting. There is patch compliance data and reporting already built in, and this is the endpoint management dashboard. So I'm under data, dashboards, and Tanium. And the endpoint management dashboard is a Tanium managed dashboard, which means it comes in the box and it has many metrics that the operations team and businesses often like to see. But the main section that I want to focus on today is this compliance reporting, right? Because a lot of times when we talk about patching tools, we're looking at features, bells, and whistles. But what do we really want out of a patching tool? What is the outcome we want? We want patch compliance, right? At the end of the day, we just want all the patches to be installed, and we want to show it too.
And
And
let's,
this,
I've got a question here because is that a fuzzy term, patch compliance? Is it like the way we define compliance? Because some shops just want to see only certain, maybe criticals and highs. They don't care about the mediums and lows. Could you maybe
exactly,
tweak for me? What does this mean with, how do we define compliance?
exactly. So, in patch compliance, in what Tanium is displaying here is for all the patches that are included in to be deployed, are they installed or not? And this can be an all or none approach. Like these charts here are saying, of all the patches, are how many machines are installed all the patches, and how many machines have not installed all the patches. The all or none is a very helpful report, right? Sometimes that's all they want to see. And this is what it looks like today on the left. So you'll often see this pattern in Tanium reporting, and it's a good way of visualizing it. What does it look like today? But also, what does it look like over time? Over the last 90 days, are we getting better? And you should expect to see those peaks and valleys, right? As new patches are released, and then the patch automation kicks in, those patches are downloaded, stored, ready to go for the next maintenance window, and then you see that compliance tick down. The thing that you're mentioning is what does patch compliance mean? Well, it can mean something different for different organizations, and that's why we wanted to talk about this because
Yeah, and
this
I would just want to get my shots in right here because this is a game changer. When Tanium first gets to your company, a lot of times people were not applying those mediums and lows just because of bandwidth restrictions or tooling limitations. And
correct,
attackers can chain those low and medium vulnerabilities together to make a pretty vicious attack. So I'll make my public service announcement. Please patch everything.
right,
Don't ignore those little ones. Just do it all. Patching with Tanium is so much easier now.
exactly, and these charts show everything, right? They're not hiding any patches from you at this point, and maybe there's patches that your business doesn't care about. Um, maybe like Ashley said, you should just patch all the things. But in some cases, maybe for reporting to the business, there are some SLAs that you have to abide by that you need to report on. This might be a helpful chart for your team to see, but you might want to have a custom chart that shows just the patches that the business requires you to install and report on. That's what we're going to be walking through. But I also want to show you a more granular reporting for patch compliance. So whereas before the chart was an all or none, which is helpful, of course, but for the ones that aren't quite patch compliant, how far out of compliance are they? Right? Are they missing just 1 to 5 patches? That's a different story than 6 to 10 patches. I've seen endpoints 25 to 50, 100 or more patches missing. So it's really helpful to see, okay, yeah, we're missing some things, but how bad is it? We're
I'm really
also going to
liking
show you,
this. Yeah,
go ahead.
I'm noticing the graph on the right with over time. You've got the shaded green area. That's kind of cool. So you can see. I'm just reading here. It says pending restart, and sometimes
Yes.
they're applied. They just need a reboot. That's all.
Right. And that's really, really helpful because when you're working with users, right, and workstation patching, you want to continue the patching cycle, but not necessarily interrupt them. And so Tanium Patch has that ability to say, look, let's install the updates, but give the user the option to postpone the reboot. We want to make sure that they do restart within a specified deadline. We want to also say, hey, we want you to be able to see that. Look, we've got these endpoints, they've installed all the patches, so we're just about there. So we're just pending restart. Now, with Microsoft patching, you've got to restart the machine for the machine to be fully patched and secured, right, to close those vulnerabilities. So it's a good sign that it's a compliant pending restart, but we do need to get those machines restarted. Of course, you could do that. You can restart machines through Tanium, but in the case of users, just give them that notification and a deadline so they can choose when is the most convenient time to get that patching done. Well, we talked about how do we get patch compliance reporting and dashboarding for what your organization wants. And what we're going to do is we're going to build our own set of charts like this together. The knowledge base article walks through all that, but I'm going to just walk through that together. So where I'm going to go next is patch lists. So I've been to modules, patch lists, and these are all the patch lists in my environment. Now I'm going to pick the patch list that I consider my production patch list or the patch list that I want to report on. What is a patch list? A patch list is a rule-based list of patches that we want to approve, automatically approve. Here I'm just saying patches that are older than 14 days are automatically approved. And this is tied to that patch automation that we talked about last time. But in this case, I'm not saying necessarily every patch ever. I just want service pack, security updates, and critical updates. You could make this to say, I don't want .NET or I don't want SQL, but I do want this. So you can make your own list of patch lists. You even have the ability to use block lists as well. And what block lists can do is block certain types of patches. And in your custom patch compliance reporting, block list patches are automatically removed. So you don't have to caveat your patch compliance. Well, it's missing 3 patches because, 3 of them are SQL and we don't really do SQL patching. The other team does SQL patch. Okay. You just put it in a block list and then it'll just say it's compliant and you can deal with the SQL patches separately.
Well, that's good to know because if I'm looking at patch compliance for all my servers, number one, is the patch even applicable to that server? So that's not going to ding me. And if it's on my block list, it's not going to ding me. So that's good to know.
Yeah, and you're in control of this, right? So you're in control of what patches are approved, which patches are blocked. And that's why you want to be able to make your own separate patch compliance reporting. So I'm going to note the name of this patch list ID, and we're going to use that to build a report in Tanium reporting. I'm going to move over to Tanium reporting. I'm clicking on data, explore data, and we're going to build a report together. Now, this is going to be exciting, right? Reporting. All right, so we're going to choose computer name. We're just picking the fields that we want to have in our report. And we're going to use this report for reporting, of course, but we're also going to use this as part of the dashboards that we're going to be building. Probably want to know the operating system as well. So I'm just typing this in, I'm hitting the plus, and I'm adding it to the report. The last thing I want is patch list compliance. So the sensor name is patch list compliance. And I'm going to add this here. Now notice I've got multiple choices here when I add it. The patch list compliance sensor has many parameters. That's what all these zeros and commas mean. We're going to cover what that means towards the end of this video. But for now, what we're going to do, we're just going to choose this very first one, which should be in your environment already. But this is just saying give me the patch list compliance for all the patches for a specific patch list. So I'm going to add that to the report. Okay, so now I see every endpoint, Windows, Mac OS, Linux, and all the patch lists. But we need to focus on the patch list or lists that we care about. Since we're focusing on one patch list today, I'm going to expand filters. I'm going to add a row. I'm going to choose that patch list compliance. I want the patch list ID to equal, and the number was 4. So I'm going to click OK. And now I have a report. Oh, no, I'm still showing everything here. I've missed a step. What I need to do is flatten these results by this column. So this button here, this little icon here, means to flatten the results of the report. So I'm going to select that. And now our filter is showing us only patch list compliance for endpoints that have patch data for patch list ID 4. So now I can see specifically, not just we'll build a chart, but I can drill into this report and see, okay, which endpoints are the ones that are missing patches. And this is instant. Of course, you can always ask questions in Tanium and get responses back, but sometimes having a report like this is a great way to quickly drill in to see who's missing 1 to 5 patches or who's not compliant.
I just have to stop, say this is masterful. This is beautiful, man. Thank you. I like the way you just so smoothly walked through this and cleared this up for a lot of folks, because you're right. This is exactly what people want to see, and what are the people we report to want to see.
Exactly. And we're going to build separate dashboards, but you can add visualizations in here. So if you did want to add this information, you can certainly do that and add this data right into it. So we can call this patch compliance. We're going to walk through this in a separate dashboard, but just so you can see, you can actually add this to the report. Not only can you have the detailed information, but a little visualization at the top too is available to you. So then what we do is we save it. So we'll call it my patch compliance.
And probably using a prefix of our company name or something
Yeah.
so it stands out in the list there. Yeah.
Exactly. In fact, the article talks about maybe how some recommendations for naming things. Of course, it's your environment, it's your world. You make it what you want it. In fact, I already have one done, and it's called my patch compliance. So the report looks like this. Okay, so this is the report. I saved it with the name of the patch list. And so what I'm going to do then is I'm going to go to dashboards, and we're going to build a dashboard based upon that. So now we're going to take this report data and build a dashboard. So we'll call it, again, I'm just going to call it my patch compliance, but again, use your own name that makes sense because maybe you might have separate reporting for patch compliance. Maybe there's a patch compliance for the patching team that shows everything. And then there's the patch compliance you show to the business that with the SLAs and patches that they care about.
And just to
So
recap for our audience here who may not be familiar with reporting and dashboards, you've got all that juicy Tanium data that you love that goes into a report that's filtered with just the data view that you want, right? And then you
mhm.
take that data view and you can use that to supply those little widgets that we put into those dashboards, those graphs. You can pull from that report, that filtered view of data, then to build multiple views or graphical representations of that data. So just to kind of keep you in the loop here, like this is a progression that we're going through. I really like this step by step.
Yeah, and sometimes what I often do is there's many built-in dashboards and reports. They inspire me. They give me ideas of what to do, how to design things. Definitely use the reports and dashboards that are built in to give you ideas. And of course, you can customize and make your own. It's usually really a good idea if you're working on projects, like you've been asked to roll something out or make a change, take the time to set up a report and a dashboard before you even start so that you can show your work, right? That's what we're trying to do, show your work. And the managers, they love those pretty charts. So let's do the work of upfront to make the reporting and the dashboarding so that you can show the progress over time. Because you're going to get that email like, hey, where are we at with that? And he's like, here's the pretty picture. Like, oh, great, thanks. Or just give them access to see it.
Or you could even just have them automatically emailed every Friday
Yeah,
afternoon and make
there
it
you
look like
go.
you're working when you're gaming or something, you know. I mean,
So what we're going to do is build the chart panels. Okay, so I'm going to click Add Chart Panel. I'm going to choose my compliance report. And so we're going to choose this here. And then we're going to group by a specific column, right? Because I don't just want a listing of the machines. I want to know that I'm focusing on the compliance status. So that specific column is what I want to build a dashboard around. Now you can do further filtering here if you just say, I just want to know Windows servers or workstations. But in this case, I'm going to say, I'm just going to call it patch compliance. You can give it a subtitle. You can specify the different chart types. So if you want the donut style, the bar chart, the count, again, you can filter to different groups. You can label your axes. You can even change your colors, right? So compliant, green is good. 1 to 5 missing, maybe yellow. 6 to 10, let's make it orange, whatever color that is. And then
and
when
yeah, also here in the filterings where some companies like to put in like sub filtering by business unit or by
yes.
geography or, you know, location, something like that.
Yeah, and in fact, I typically recommend that you do an overall picture at the top, and then you can actually add sections. And then you can add a section for each business group. And then that way you can just scroll through the page and see different business groups. You can also say, well, you can just pivot the chart and just say, well, no, I just want Windows servers. And it'll automatically pivot all the charts on the page. So that's available to you as well. So we built our patch compliance. This is the left-hand side chart, right? This is the what does it look like today? We want to do the what's it look like over the last 90 days. So let's add another chart panel. We're going to choose the same report. So we're just really duplicating the effort we just did on purpose. We're going to choose compliance status. We're going to do patch compliance historical, or you can call it last 90 days, something like that. And now we're going to choose this type of chart here. This is the area chart. If you like a line chart, you can certainly do that as well. Some people really, pick what you want. I'm going to choose the last 90 days. You can choose whatever you like, depending on how you want to see it. Typically, since a patching cycle is monthly, you want to see a little bit longer than a month to see what the progress is. So again, I want to say, change my colors around, make the colors meaningful. Again, pick the colors you want. It's your world. 26 to 50 missing. That's not good. All right, let's make that red. And then I'm going to click done.
Just put a
Now I
happy
put,
little cloud over here and a little
yeah,
pine tree over the
you,
little
you got
Bob
my
Ross
reference.
style. Yeah, got it, man.
Well, I feel like I'm painting because this is the only kind of painting I could do. But here we go. So now what I've done is I moved that chart up here. You can, of course, resize these charts if you wanted to add more charts. So there's plenty of options here to make it however you like it, or however else your boss likes to see it. And once I'm done, I click save. And now we've just built patch list compliance reporting or patch compliance reporting based upon your own custom patch list. There's one other thing though I wanted to cover, and that's SLAs. Some organizations have maybe a grace period in which they have to install critical patches and things like that. So I want to cover a little bit about the patch list compliance sensor because we do get asked that question a lot. And sometimes I forget even what we're talking about. So this checkbox here first says, first of all, I'm in question builder, right? So I went to interact question builder so that way we could better look at the structure of the sensor. So sensor name, and then its parameters are here. We want to bucket results for missing patches. So this just means, do we want that all or none approach, or do we want to bucket it, which is that 1 to 5, 5 to 10? So depending on how you want to customize that, you can do that. Say your organization only needs to report on important and above. So I can specify, I just want important and above. That's the minimum severity that I want to show. What that means is even if there's missing patches that are moderate or low or none, we won't show that in the results. And then this is where you can specify the minimum age and days. It's like that grace period, right? Say your organization has 30 days or 14 days or 21 days, whatever it is, to install critical updates for it to be still called compliant. December patch comes out, it's not immediately marked as non-compliant because we're still within that time frame of when you get to actually get those patches pushed out there. So you can
Man, that
specify
is it.
that.
That's it right there. I mean, thank you. So many people ask that question. I
Yeah.
don't want to get dinged on my reports until it's our organization says it's actually past due. That's perfect.
Yeah. And so you can specify that different numbers for critical, important, moderate. You can make them all 30. So that information's here for the different types of patches. The second to last one is a compliance threshold is basically like how many can we miss and still mark it as compliant. So say you want to say, well, if they're missing 1 or 2 patches, it's no big deal. Let's just let it slide. If you have more than one patch list that you want to report on, so we talked about maybe SQL patches, right? So we got our monthly patches, and maybe we do SQL patching quarterly or something like that. And you want to combine that patch compliance reporting together for both those patch lists or more than one, you can just enter those as comma separated. And when you do that, you can get the information back and you can register this customized sensor with the parameters in Interact that you can then use in reporting. And you can register that through Interact. You can go through the settings gear here, type in patch list compliance, and then I can click add, and I can specify those values. And then the platform will automatically collect that data in the background all the time so that you have the most recent patch compliance data based upon your SLAs.
And just thinking real world here, Tanium's a near real time platform in many respects. So this is going into the Tanium data service, which has a collection interval. So if I'm right in the middle of applying patches and it's that week, what's kind of the timing that I should expect to see these between I push the deployment and it takes a little bit. The clients apply the patches, they get the reboot. Then we're detecting again the status that they are actually patched, which shows up in the dashboard. Kind of what's the expected wiggle room and the timing there?
The patch compliance sensor has maybe a 15-minute max age, which means we're just going to ask it every 15 minutes or so or get the fresh data. There is like you said, there's like we've got to actually install the patch. We do a post scan. So when we do a patch deployment, it's a pre-scan and install a post scan to make sure that we actually installed all the patches that we're supposed to be. And are there any more patches to be done? So we know if we need to keep patching the box. And then after that, there's likely a restart. And if there or not, there may not be a restart. And within a few minutes after that, the patch list compliance data should be updated. All right. Well, we discussed patch list compliance reporting. We have a community article or knowledge-based article available to you. Tanium can provide you with the confidence that your endpoints are being fully patched. You can visualize it, you can customize it to your own organization's goals and SLAs. And I just want to say happy patching, everyone.
Well, Jason, thank you. I mean, what you're talking about here, I know I've had conversations with customers who want to know this exact thing, and that's why we call it a frequently asked question for patch. Yes, so we have the master here on the show capturing this for you. And as he mentioned, this is also documented very well for you if you go to help.tanium.com, the Tanium Resource Center. There's a direct link in the show notes below here on the YouTube description of this video. So you can go straight to that documentation. You can watch this video, step through it at home, just like your favorite cooking show. And before you know it, you'll have reports smelling good for your management. And like I said, beyond that, you can use the ability within Connect and other features in Tanium to actually go ahead and, email those dashboards, and they're interactive. Even when you get the little HTML attachment, you can still mouse over things. It's better than a PDF report because it's actually a live HTML. Well, it's not like it's a static copy of the data, but it's responsive in the HTML that you can email those reports around. So Jason, thank you again for this patch FAQ on patch compliance dashboards. Now, folks, we have more patch FAQs coming in this series, so stay tuned. Until then, go Tanium.